You may be seated. If I could have all the children who want to come join me for the sermon, come on up and have a seat on the carpet. That was a dive. Good. Come on up. There's plenty of room. How y'all doing? Good. Good? Amazing.
Awesome.
Cool. Come on up. There's more room on the carpet. Yeah. Can I tell you a story? Yeah? You like stories? There was this a long time ago, there was this king. And this king had everything.
Yeah, it was Jesus.
You just stole my sermon. Give me 5. So there was a king, and he had tons of rooms in his palace.
It was Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
It was Jesus.
Our Sunday school program is awesome.
It's Jesus.
He had everything. His kitchen was stocked full of food. He had the finest fabric. He had a big crown on his head.
And he had lots of candy.
He had lots of
And
candy.
he also had lots of you.
Lots of me. He had all kinds of servants. But he was different than a lot of other kings because he was filled with love. He loved his people a lot.
That's Jesus.
And so one day he called his servant over and he said, I want you to go out through the kingdom and I want you to find a person that I can spend the whole day with. Make it be the most important person you find. So the servant thought. And then he left the palace and he went into the streets. He saw all kinds of people. He saw tall people and short people, and he saw young people and old people and skinny people and fat people and poor people and rich people. He saw people being really nice to each other. He saw people fighting with each other. He even went to this place that was really fancy. It was kind of like a spa. They had all these pools.
A spa?
Yeah, it was like,
It's like
you're going to love it when you're older.
like a swimming pool. Like a massage.
Kind of.
And like a swimming pool.
Like a swimming pool, yes. And there were all kinds of people there, and they were having a party. There was a hotel there. Yeah, all works.
Hotel party with you?
That sounds kind of fun, too.
No, that one not gonna happen.
And he noticed when he got there with this big party going on that just out of the corner of his eye, he saw this little old woman. And this little old woman was dressed in rags. She wasn't like the rest of the people there. Her clothing was tattered and worn. She had patches. She had in her hand this little bucket, and the bucket had coal in it. Anyone know what coal is?
Something that Santa gives to you.
If you're bad.
It's rocks that you're.
This is like Congress. So coal is this kind of dirty rock that back then they used to like warm things with. And he watched her go down these stairs and he thought, I'm going to follow her. So he went down these stairs and he saw this little old room. The pools above were heated by this little old woman. She had this coal that she would put into the fire, and that's what would heat the pool for this big party. And he noticed that the woman actually lived in that room. She didn't have a house like anyone else. She had just a little cot in the corner.
It's just like a big hotel.
Yeah, but the basement. And she was sad because no one would visit her, but she would take care of all the people upstairs. She didn't have much food. In fact, he saw a little table, and the only thing on the table was an apple and a piece of bread. So he goes back and he talks to the king. And he tells the king all the people that he saw. And the king says, I want to go visit that little old woman. And the servant said, well, people will recognize you. He said, let me dress like her. So he put on rags over top of all of his finery. He took off his rings. He took off his crown. He even put dirt on his face. In the middle of the night, he went down into the streets. No one recognized him. And he went down to the pool, and he went down underneath, and there that little old woman was. And she was kind of startled because no one ever came to visit her. And he said, I'm here to visit you. And she began to cry. And so she sat him down because she was lonely.
But she was not because Jesus came.
Because Jesus came. I'm going to put you in the chair and start preaching. And so he sat there with her, and they talked all day. All day. And she said, let me give you something to eat. And she handed him that apple and that piece of bread to eat. And he was so moved that he stood up and he took off his rags and he put his rings back on. And she said, Your Majesty. And he said, you shared everything you had with me. What can I give you? Come, you will live in my palace. You will eat off my table. And she said, you gave me the biggest present of all by just coming to be with me. That's Christmas. That Jesus, who is our King, who lived in heaven, he has all this power and glory. He came down to our basement. That's Easter. But when you see him over there, he comes down to us, just like he came down to that little old woman, dressed in our humanity, dressed like us, because he loves us.
Just like you.
So there's going to be all kinds of presents you're going to have tomorrow, and all kinds of things like that. But the most important part,
I'm gonna have candy tomorrow.
God bless you. But the most important thing is love. That's what Jesus came to be. He came to show us love, and you're supposed to love people. That was a long story. I know, that's true. And a long time ago. But that's what Christmas is. So remember tomorrow when you're opening your packages and your presents and you're excited, remember why we're doing that. Because Jesus, our King, came down to be with us because he loves us. And we're supposed to love each other just like that. Cool? Cool? Now you can all go back with your parents. And Father's going to go on sabbatical. Here's a shoe.